Hi, I'm Tim Masso, Director IW Magazine, and I'm here to give some views and reviews of the Swatch Sistem51 Sistem Blue. What I really want to do is give perspective on this unusual and much talked about family of timepieces. Now, Baselworld 2013 was a sensational edition, but perhaps there was no greater standout introduction than the Swatch Sistem51, the watch that I hold here. 42 millimeters across the round of the case, 13.5 thick, and 50.5 from lug to lug. The watch was a sensation not so much because of its design or its dimensions, but because it was arguably the first completely robot-built automatic Swiss mechanical timepiece. So take everything that's generally associated with high horology and the luxury watch sector, such as a heartbeat, a Swiss inline anchor escapement, a automatic winding mechanical movement, and frankly, it hails from the same ETA factory that builds the exclusive 8500 and 9300 calibers for Omega. So in a lot of ways, this watch was betwixt and between the world of Swatch and its traditionally plastic, silicone strap beclad quartz models and the higher end of the Swatch catalog. So where does that leave us in 2016? Well, following the watch's mid-2014 debut in a Times Square pop-up store, we have a little bit more perspective on what goes into this watch and where it stands in the world of mechanical watchmaking. I can't strictly say luxury watchmaking, but technically this is a very interesting timepiece. First, at its best, this can be considered an accessible mechanical watch that acts as a gateway into mechanical traditional timepieces for young people and those who perhaps had no inclination to pursue a Swiss watch of any kind. The watch, of course, priced at about $150 US, delivers an interesting combination of avant-garde, some might even say irreverent design, and legitimate watchmaking. Let's start with outside the case, the dial. Now, this is one of the original variants, the Sistem Blue, and you can see the constellation design serves two purposes. First, it adds a little bit of aesthetic dissonance, for which Swatch is known, and second, the red dots on the matte black dial actually trace the location of jewels within the movement. Now, the movement, visible through the case back, is an interesting piece built by ETA for Swatch. Technically, it's called the C10111. So it has 51 parts total, 19 jewels, and 1 screw, and there it is right at center. You can see it affixing the winding rotor, and it does have a winding rotor. It's circumferential with a weighted mass on one side, so aesthetically it's a bit more coherent. A lot of interesting technology going on here. First and foremost, you can see the bridges and plates, but you might not know that they're made of RCAP, an interesting anti-magnetic alloy that's used by a couple of high-end manufacturers and high-end models, including the models of Urwerk, and Corum uses the material in its tie bridge and tie bridge tourbillon watches. Now, beyond the materials, there's a lot of interesting assembly technique here. 5 modules make up the movement, and they're held together not so much by screws, but by solder, all laser welded by robots. Moreover, there's some interesting specific techniques. For instance, you can see just below my thumb a screw that's actually, it's not a screw I should say, it's more like a stud that's affixing the hairspring to the base plate of the watch. So it's actually anchored to the base plate. You'll also note a full balance bridge, so robust Rolex style, but what you can't see is just beneath the bridge, under my thumb, the watch has a synthetic anchor and escape wheel. So the escape wheel with its teeth and the anchor are both made of what appears to be a sort of gray plastic. Again, a lot of interesting work going on in this movement, but the result is that it is sealed for life, has 3 ATM water resistance, it's warranted internationally for 2 years, with a relatively slow and traditional 21,600 vibration per hour beat rate. It achieves a remarkable 90-hour power reserve, and Swatch has stated publicly that at full wind, the watch should be able to sustain a precision of -7 plus 7 seconds per day. That's pretty ambitious for a timepiece built entirely by robots, sealed for life, and completely inaccessible to a watchmaker. Now, about that robot assembly, robots do build every part of this watch. Perhaps no portion of the assembly and regulation more impressive than the dynamic poising of the balance by laser ablation of material until the watch is correctly poised. And this is remarkable because the balance is never actually touched during the poising process. All of the removal of material in strategic spots is done by laser without contact, using only optical sensors. An impressive feat, and it may have implications down the road for the Swatch Group's upscale divisions, because a lot of the automation that goes into this watch can find its way into other models, other lines, and other brands. One can easily see ETA, which builds this movement for Swatch, using some of these automation techniques in Swatch brands like Hamilton, Mito, Certina, or even Omega. So this watch may have a little bit of an irreverent look to it, but make no mistake, it's probably the face of the future. You can see this watch on Swatch.com, and you can also check out the latest news, views, and reviews of all watches, luxury and otherwise, on IWMagazine.com.